Good evening, everyone. This is Mujeres de Maiz's We Rise Programming 2022. I am Felicia Montes, and today is Maestra Monday. We're so excited to have one of our femtors, an amazing veteranas, elders, and community maestras and guide and leader in the community, Linda Vallejo. Again, Mujeres de Maiz is part of the We Rise Well-Being Month, which is May 2022. It's Mental Health Awareness Month, and part of Los Angeles County Department of Mental Health is doing a programming with different programs and community-based organizations throughout Los Angeles County. Part of our programming is online ofrendas or offerings, and so one of them is Maestra Mondays. Well, it's a series of pláticas or chats speaking with different maestras in the community. So really honored today and excited to speak to one of our dearest maestras or teachers and guides, and that is Linda Vallejo. And I want to tell you a little bit about Linda before I introduce her. And Linda is an artist. She's a veteran artist, also community member, a ceremonial leader. She's also a grant writer and teaches people about grant writing. She's a past director of a gallery. She's a curator. She also consults in many ways, and she'll talk a little bit more about that. But she's you might have seen her work from 20 to 30 years ago in self-help graphics or photos of her. She's been part of dozens and probably hundreds of exhibits, including some of the most famous more recently through the Getty and others. So I'd really love to honor somebody who I consider, and our Mujeres de Maiz, or Women of the Corn, consider not only a maestra, but a guide, elder, and an artist and cultural leader in our community across East Los Angeles and part of our community. So welcome, Linda Vallejo. Welcome, Linda.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Yes, we're so excited to have you. Linda has dropped gems of knowledge to us as a true maestra has and can for many, many years and in many ways. We can be in the gallery and she'll say, check out this, or what about this, and give us thought-provoking questions. Or we can be in a ritual or circle, a tall woman's circle, and drop gems of wisdom from her experience. So for any of you watching today, we do have a chat where you can speak a little bit more, whether you're on YouTube, Twitter, or on our Facebook page. Feel free to say hello if you see a good friend, or if you know Linda. And also if you have questions or comments, we might be taking some. And also, of course, repost this so that others are able to log into this live. And also that this will be recorded and forever on our YouTube as well as our Facebook page. So Linda, I know I introduced a little bit about you, but you have so many facets, a multifaceted Chicana Indígena, multifaceted woman, a multifaceted leader, and also a multifaceted artist in many interests and ways that you do your art. Tell us a little bit, introduce yourself the way you feel comfortable.
Well, you've done a really good job. I mean, my life is multifaceted. Being an artist demands that you work in many different areas to be able to function as an artist, move ahead as an artist. I always believed that the fullest life is what I wanted to live as a young woman. I decided that I wanted to be an artist. Of course, it was the first thing I decided as a small child. I knew that I wanted to be a mother when I was in high school and college, like many of us. And I wanted to have a spiritual core and a spiritual center to my life. And now those three things of family, spiritual core, and art are basically the driving forces of my life. And you have to work on all of them simultaneously to be able to find the fullest experience possible to make your decisions, to set your goals, and to work diligently towards the person that you would like to be and the things that you would like to accomplish in your life.
You're so eloquent and always just, bringing some of the basics of like balance, all the interests, but also the callings that you've had. I feel like for some, they might be interests and callings. For some, they are gifts and medicines. And I know you see them in those different ways. And that's a little bit different about who our maestras are. And like you see them as ofrendas, you see them as offerings, you see them as medicines. And so when you share these words, even if it's just about, from everything from a grant to to an art piece, or how to start a fire or something. You know,
Mm.
you're so grounded in what you do, solid in what you do, is the best kind of term or word I can
Mhm.
really talk about. I'd love to hear about, and you do so much. Can you tell us a little bit about some of those projects? Maybe one by one, because I know
Mhm.
they're kind of different compartments, but they're to you still part of
Mhm.
everything that is Linda Vallejo.
Well, when you build a life and you literally build a life like you build a fire, you're very
Mm,
conscious of all the steps that you take when you build a fire, the way that you prepare the wood and lay out the wood and the sage that you put and the tobacco that you lay there and the way that you start the fire and how you tend it. And life is very much like that. Ceremony,
mm,
every day is a ceremony. I know we've all heard that. Every day is a ceremony, and you want to have a good day. It's been a good day today. I've gotten a lot done. I feel good about myself. And it has to be on multiple levels. And so when I make my art, I pretty much treat it in the same fashion. I have an idea, I want to bring it to fruition, and I complete it in the very best way that I know how. I don't put out artwork that I don't think is complete. I make something really finished and as beautiful as I know how to make it before I place it into the world. And these days, as you can see around me, I am painting the whole world brown to begin a conversation about the politics of color, class, and privilege. Um, what does it mean to be a person of color in the United States today? What does it mean to be a third generation Mexican American in the United States today, a woman and an artist? How does one navigate the world? How does one how does one become successful in their own eye? And how can one be sure that the world sees what you're producing and listen to your message? It was Mother's Day in the United States yesterday,
yes,
and
happy Mother's Day.
it was a beautiful day. My goal for yesterday was to connect with my granddaughters, to hug my son, to hug my daughter-in-laws, to talk to my son in Arizona, to send flowers to my daughter-in-laws, to meet with my mother and my sister. But more importantly than any of those was to connect with my granddaughters, 6 and 4, Honor, Elizabeth, and Millie. And I work very hard, just like a ceremony, beginning the day, thinking of them, planning for them, making the foods that they like. We went to the beach and had a discovery day where we collected shells and little pieces of driftwood and a little bucket and walked the beach. And when we got there, all the rocks were showing because it was low tide. And my 6-year-old Honor said, "There seems to be more rocks here this time, Grandma." And I said, "That's because the tide is out. But pretty soon the tide's going to come in." And she walked out into the rocks, really a good 200 yards. And slowly but surely, I said, "Watch the tide, watch the tide." And she actually experienced in live time,
Mm,
not just talking about it or trying to explain it, but she saw the water coming in and she could see it growing at her feet. And you could see the knowledge on her face. You could see her learning something real.
mm,
And we had a
mm,
beautiful lunch together. And that, of course, yesterday, a Mother's Day with my granddaughters was a ceremony as well, was a completion of a day. And I felt really good at the end of the day. I thought we had a beautiful time together, became closer in relationship, just like in circle. You have circle, and your
mm,
goal is to get closer in relationships, to have a meaningful moment, to experience a revelation of some kind in your own level, right? And to close a circle with everyone feeling good as if the day ended well. I also am a consultant to artists and to nonprofit organizations, and my job is to help them get ahead. That's my job. My job is to help them make their dreams come true and to get ahead. And I work very hard. I try to share as much as I can about my knowledge in the nonprofit world and fundraising, and also for artists to expand their careers. And I share the knowledge that I have from my experiences in Galeria Las Americas, from my experiences in the Chicano art movement, as well as the national and international art movement, to tell artists and to share with artists the best that I know how. Uh, so when one family, ceremony, art, and of course, security through business. That's what one of the elements of my life is: security through business building and through
mm,
regular,
mhm,
and to maintaining a lifestyle of safety and security through good health, good mental health, all of the types of security that a woman wishes for herself, her children, and her family, right? So I work on these things that I think if you just stop, I think that's one of the keys is just to stop and be
Mm,
where you are now. Today I was working making these flower arrangements with
they're
my very
beautiful. So
my dear
beautiful.
friend and florist. And we had to stop and work on the flower arrangements. It took many hours to paint the antique Victorian vase and to prepare it for the flowers and to paint all the flowers brown again because it's all a conversation about the color brown, what it means to
Mm,
be brown. But to stop
mhm,
in front of anything that you do just for a moment, to stop for the day and say, today is the day that I'm spending with my family. Today is the day I'm spending with my art. Today is the day I spend with my business and helping my clients. Today is the day I spend with my grandchildren. But to
mhm.
stop the moment and to have an opportunity to actually have a revelation of some kind, to
Mm.
understand something, to see something, to share something is really helps you make it through the years as they go flying by.
Beautiful. You know, the intentionality not only of what you're doing and your art, and the intentionality in every community, every circle, every space that you walk in is really beautiful and admirable. It's in your voice, it's in the way you walk, it's in your art, and it's in the work that you do. And so I think that's why all so many of us are fans in many ways. You know how you're able to really balance the community work, the ceremonial circles and spaces, the home life, what you're sharing right now with your granddaughter, and a
Mhm.
happy Mother's Day to you, as you've also been like a tia, mama, and maestra for Mujeres de Maiz. And I know you have a beautiful family and children that have been, and grandchildren that have been a part of your community and your spaces, and have also seen many of these roads and ways, have seen you in these different circles and spaces. And so, what a beautiful example. What a beautiful example of a maestra for us. And we're hoping, that people continue to maybe repost this or share this and take a look at it con tiempo. There's so much going on, right? In social media, there's so much going on in the world that things go really quickly. And I really appreciate your breath, the intentionality. It reminds me to like calm down and breathe and also take in this time with you. Where for me, oftentimes it's like,
Oh,
oh, we're
good.
going live and
Thank
we
you.
have to do this, but that it like
Mhm.
allows us to even feel that way
Mhm.
and even through this virtual reality, connect
Mhm.
with
Mhm.
and honor our communities and honor our bodies and minds and hearts, which is part of this well-being journey that we're all
Mhm.
on,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
that Mujeres de Maiz really wants to talk about through this chat and through this plática and through this month of
Mhm.
well-being,
Mhm. Mhm.
and We Rise. So you do have many different creations and spaces. I know that um, your identity journey and connection, locations, how you grew up. Can you share a little bit about maybe your
Mhm.
identity and well-being journeys from
Mhm.
how some of the art that you did have come to, or the places and centers that you've been a part of, or circles have supported you, or that you have supported.
Oh, gee, that's a
Big one,
70-year-old story.
huh? We have
My
some time.
father my father was a retired colonel in the Air Force, and he graduated from UCLA in 1951. My grandparents and my great-grandparents worked in the fields in California. My mother was born in Concord, California. Grape City. My dad was born in San Angelo, Texas. You know, poor roots, but beautiful roots. And because he entered the Air Force as an officer, uh, graduated from UCLA, we lived in East LA while he was in school. I did. I was the only child at the time. I was followed by my brother Tom and my sister Roseanne. Later, we moved to Germany, and I spent my formative years, 3 to 5, in Germany, and really learned to see the world as a much bigger place. Um, I've traveled a great deal, a lot in Europe, a great deal in the United States, a great deal in Mexico. I've been to China and to Canada. And I just saw the world as a very large place and a place to discover and to learn new things and to find new things, to be a student and to love discovery. And I still read incongruous materials. I read, right now, I've spent the last couple of years reading the great writers of the United States in the 1920s and in 30s and 40s. And now I'm doing Russia, if you can imagine. I'm doing Chekhov. There's so much to learn in so many places, and I believe that if we open up our hearts to incongruous and unusual forms of learning, that we'll find that our world, our personal world, will get bigger as well. So when I came back to the United States to go to graduate school, I came back to Los Angeles. At the time, I had 4 great grandparents living in East LA and a few living in Mexico still, and great uncles and tons of cousins, just like so many of us. So many of us that came up through Chihuahua into Texas and across the Southwest. We have so much in common. And I went to school. I went to Whittier. I graduated from Whittier College. And then I came back and got my MFA at Cal State University Long Beach. I put myself through graduate school. I worked and did factory work, and I modeled for art classes, and I waited tables to work my way through graduate school. And so I went to a school that I could afford and had a great printmaking department. I was really fortunate to be in graduate school with a lot of wonderful students, my peers, including some Chicano notaries, John Valadez and Teddy Sandoval were there during my time. And I got a job at Self Help Graphics. As a teacher on the Vallejo Mobile Art Studio, Sister Karen hired me, which I'm always very proud to say. And I spent about almost 8 years at Self Help Graphics, 6 of those on the Vallejo Mobile Art Studio. When I was in Europe, I had a great opportunity several times to go to, I don't know how many cathedrals I went to. I went to the catacombs. I visited Rome several times. I was in many of the Roman areas of Spain because I lived in Spain for about 4 years total. I went to high school and 1 year of college there. And I love ancient cultures. I still do. I love traditional and ancient cultures. And I studied a lot about Europe and learned a great deal about Europe because I enjoyed it so much. And even as a 15, 16-year-old, I wanted to go to Africa, which I never made, I'm sorry to say, to see the Congo before it was destroyed. I had a sense that indigenous cultures were were disappearing.
Mm-hmm.
And even as a very young woman, and even at that time, I decided that the Catholic Church was not for me. And I left the Catholic Church at 15 and began looking for a different
Wow.
spiritual way of seeing the world. When I came back and found Self-Help Graphics, of course, I found Mexico.
Mm-hmm.
And made a lot of sense. I mean, I spoke Spanish after being in Spain. It was beautiful to travel in Mexico. And I loved the ceremonial sites. I must have done all the ceremonial sites, many of them more than once, many of them 3 times. The sacred sites were just, there was something about them. You know how they are. They're magical.
Mm-hmm.
Draw you, and there's a beautiful sense of history and ritual and imagery. They're just wonderful, wonderful spaces. And I love them very much. And at the time at Self Help Graphics, we were studying the Day of the Dead. And I was collecting books in Mexico about the Day of the Dead and bringing them back to California to begin developing our study and our understanding of the Dia de los Muertos.
Wow.
And when I was in LA, I had a chance to see the Flores de Aztlan. I believe it was in Sacramento, with the Royal Chicano Air Force and the Fiesta de Colores. And when I saw the Flores de Aztlan and my Maestra Josefina Gallardo and my good sisters there, I just really loved it. It was very beautiful. And
Can you tell us a little bit about what it was for people who are listening and or don't know what the Flores de Aztlan is?
Well, many people recognize Azteca dancers. They know Azteca dancers. Everyone does. They're at all the festivals and celebrations. Well, this wasn't Azteca danza, although we did do some Azteca danza. Most of what we did was choreographed by Josefina Gallardo, and it was based on Mayan danza, which was very feminine and very flowing and very feminist. Like you say, femtor. I found my femtors. And flowing gowns and floral garlands and very beautiful lyrical dances. And none of us were dancers except for Josefina, but we all learned how to express ourselves freely as dancers within the context of ceremonial dance, which is basically symbolic dance, where every movement, every image has a meaning. And I've always loved studying history and culture and philosophy and religion. It's always been an interest of mine in college and graduate school. And so the danza really made it possible for me to experience it just like my granddaughter experienced the ocean. It wasn't about reading about it or being told about it. It was about actually being within it, much like ceremony, being within ceremony. And I loved it so much. I just took a headlong dive into it and found myself dedicated for all the rest of my life. Um, Danza, including danza in the United States with Native American peoples from the United States, different types of ceremony, taking my children to ceremony, becoming a part of bear circles in California, doing volunteer work in the prison systems, conducting ceremony in multiple circles throughout Southern California, with my first invitation being from John Funmaker, who was a Sundance brother of mine, who asked me if I would go to CRC to spend time in circle with the women. And it's, let's see, I think it would be, it's close to 40 years now. It's close to 40 years that I've been involved in ceremonia. So I found the religion that I was looking for. And it's not really so much religion as it is a spiritual practice. And I think I've outlined pretty much what the spiritual practice is about. You begin each day with a ceremony and you end it with a ceremony. Every action is a ceremony, every relationship is a ceremony, and things must be thought out carefully. When you go to ceremony, your goal, when you're conducting ceremony, your goal is that everyone not necessarily enjoy themselves, but not become injured in any way. They're not injured. You may have a very profound encounter in ceremony that isn't necessarily enjoyable because it could be difficult. It could be something that you weren't expecting, but you feel that you have support. You feel that it was a good thing to think about and to realize. And everyone leaves without any physical hurt as well, because in ceremony there's fire, there's the earth, there's big rocks, there's the elements. And so a leader is expected to take care of those who are participating in circles. So I got into ceremony, and after I had my children, I wanted to say thank you. And the way that I said thank you was by volunteering and being involved. I want to say thank you to the gods. These days I pray for Huehueteo because I'm getting older now. I ask the sun to help me, and the moon, of course, Goyashauki, but I ask Huehueteo to please help me out here as I get older and find out who I really am, how I will end this great ceremony of life. And I can only hope that I complete it in a way that is honorable, an honorable way. Remembered as being hardworking and caring and transparent and loving. One of my really wonderful teachers, Seneca Oneida Twyla Nietzsche, said, what's my purpose in being here today? What balance and harmony am I bringing to where we are together today? What chaos am I bringing to this gathering today, this place that I've come to? And how will I be remembered when I'm gone? And basically, that's your ultimate question, right? How will I be remembered? So it's a big question. One never knows. One never knows where one's strength is, and one never knows where one's weaknesses are either. They're always a surprise. You always think, you might think that you can handle it, and then all of a sudden you can't handle it. Or you might think that you can't handle it, and all of a sudden you show strength and courage. So ceremony's been very important to me. It's been very important to raising my sons. I believe they were very lucky to, as young boys, to be able to become men in ceremony. And I think it's given them the strength of character that I see in them as fathers and husbands. And I'm very glad that I was able to give that to them, because I felt it as an obligation and a responsibility that if I was going to experience ceremony, that I needed to share that with my children. Being an artist is a really big ball of wax. It's a very different thing. About 20 years ago, I sat down and asked myself, well, do you want to go head on into ceremony, or do you want to continue as an artist? And I decided that this is a gift that was given to me as a very small child, and that I needed to discover and to unravel this gift as completely as I could. And that's what I've been working on for the last 20 years, to find out what my art really is and what it has to offer. And interestingly enough, as soon as I did that, I found that I had what I call my brown intellectual property. And being Mexicana, Chicana, Latinx, Chicanx, Indigenx, that I have a lot of information to share, and it all comes forward in this um, hundreds of works that I'm creating. That's now I'm calling now the Objects of Opulence. It was called Make 'em All Mexican, then the Brown Dot Project, then Datos Sagrados, all data-based um, pictographs. For the Make 'em All Mexican was just painting old antiques brown, so that Elvis Presley became brown, Marilyn Monroe became brown, all the presidents, all the cartoons, everyone, the world, all of a sudden became brown, which was sort of a sort of a funny fantasy. And the Brown Dot Project and Datos Sagrados were all about making pictures out of data surrounding the U.S. Latino population, health, mental health, employment, education, all this data that was translated into object. And now I'm talking about privilege, wealth and privilege. And who deserves it? Everyone deserves it. And we need to begin the conversation talking about giving yourself, well, many people talk about this, allowing yourself abundance, allowing yourself security, allowing yourself good health, making plans for abundance, for security, for good health. To see yourself, your body, your mind, your spirit, your physicality as meaningful and working towards balanced, good health in your life. How was that?
Beautiful. You went into your journey with ritual and ceremony and reconnecting with indigenous ways and ceremonia and ofrendas of well-being through your co-responsibilities or your guidance for so many, from helping and guiding in the prison systems to circles like Mujeres de Maiz or to others, but then also to the art and how it was for you from a very young age, something that was a gift and your medicine, but also another kind of almost responsibility because of the information, the knowledge, the education that you have as a Mexican Chicanx woman and a Chicana Indígena woman, and what you can share and teach so many others, right? Through your example and through your art and through your beautiful art. So we have some things in the chat. There's a, the true abundance of our goddesses, datos sagrados. They love the name of it. Really like the idea of like woman tour, femtour that we have here. And I'll bring that. There is a question, but I'll bring that a little bit later in terms of what we can possibly offer, or some.
What I would like to say. What I would like to say really is to follow your gifts. And not to allow other people to decide what your gifts are, to enjoy your gifts, to nurture your gifts, and to make a commitment through your gifts. Don't allow other people to tell you what you should or should not do, but follow not only your heart, but your mind and the center of your being. Make a good choice. I spent a year, as they call it, indigenous style, praying on this choice between ceremony and art. Make a good choice, make a strong choice, but find yourself and follow yourself mixed with good health, mental, spiritual, psychological, and physical. And it takes time to really pay attention. I mean, it's as simple as watching your diet or making sure that you get exercise or making sure that you read. Like reading is almost a lost art, but it's very important for mental health, to expand knowledge. So to take the time to develop your gift and make a commitment to your gift and follow it through.
Beautiful. Yeah, we have some love as we were posting, like the hearts and other things in the chat. And I think people who have been in circle with you over the years or have got to meet you or see your art, maybe on a cover of Mujeres de Maiz zine, or in the different one woman shows, one person shows that you've had, your solo shows like at Plaza de Cultura y Artes in the last couple of years, or others that are coming up. Really show that path of what you're doing, the different paths, but also how they intersect, and that decision of, yes, focusing on your art, which is held you together, held your family together, well-being wise, but also bringing in these other like datos sagrados, or all the under information and knowledge that you've held and were able to be gifted through the years, whether it was through a ceremony or traveling or from your own family or community members. We really did want to see about, you kind of shared a little bit about women and indigenous women, but I wanted to see if you had like, as a femtor, as a woman on the Red Road, and also within artist communities, and also a consultant, right? You're really teaching or guiding, organizations to find more funds, or organizations to work better, to be better, to interact better, work together more. Are there some key things that you would want to share with some of the people maybe listening, which are mainly women and femmes, but also it's all community members, around some of the key lessons? Like, you've shared a lot of that, but if there's other thoughts that you
Well,
want to share with some of our community.
if you're interested in starting a nonprofit organization, just remember that grant writing is not your only way to find support for what you do. I'm working with a nonprofit organization, two of them actually right now, where we're doing what they call fees for service, where the members of the organization actually have skills that they can provide to the community, and they look for collaborative partners who are getting grant funds from other sources to pay them to provide the services in their community. So that if you are if you provide classes of any kind, as an example, if your staff provides classes of any kind, and they do that, and you offer those classes as a part of your nonprofit, you can also be paid by another nonprofit organizations to come to their location and offer those classes there. So you gather a group of collaborative partners who have their own funds coming in from different locations, who are paying you to go to their location to teach, to consult, to present for their communities. And so you have grants, you have fees for service, you also have sales, and you have interest, and you have, of course, special events. Everyone knows special events, but that is not all that you can do. Nonprofits function just like for-profits. The only difference is at the end of the year, the funds have to be carried over to the next year, and there's certain kind of tax documentation that must be submitted to the IRS. But you can make money in every way that you make as an entrepreneur. And 33% of all female entrepreneurs in the United States are Latina. This is data from the Pew Charitable Trust, Latino Initiative. And so we are natural entrepreneurs. And so I encourage those of you, women and men, Latinos, who enjoy the nonprofit world, to remember that grants are not the only way. Grants and individual donations are not the only way. But you also have sales, and you also have fees for service. In terms of an artist, what I would suggest, first and foremost, is that you create a package that everyone expects from you. It's a very basic package. It's not too complicated. It's basically an artist statement, an artist bio, a curriculum vitae, or a resume. And you can go as far as to create a proposal package of an exhibition that you would like to present. But the resume, the bio, and the statement, which artists sometimes are afraid of, but there's nothing to be afraid of. It's just words on paper. And I do this kind of work with my clients, editing their materials. But if you have a good package together, you'll find that everyone, from museums to galleries to curators to educators to scholars, all want to see some part, if not all, of the package. So if you have a package ready, and then you're ready to present yourself, at a moment's notice. Obviously, a website is a must these days,
Mhm.
and social media presence is not as important as a website if you are a fine artist. If you're a fine artist and want to get exhibitions, I mean, you can do some sales on Instagram, and you can post events on Facebook. But what gallerists and scholars and educators want to see is a good website and also this package. I have also been suggesting to artists to create a small brochure that can be attached to emails when they meet individuals that they would like to reach out to. I call it reach out and respond. Reach out and respond. Everyone that you meet who shows some interest in your work, you simply write to, thank them for their time, and send a small brochure as a follow-up. I think a lot of artists are afraid to communicate with galleries and
Mhm.
museums,
Mhm.
curators, because they're just not sure of the communication levels. But it's nothing more than formal, friendly. Well, I would call it friendly, professional, and short. And the small brochure goes a long way in just telling someone who you are and what you do, connected with the website. That's how people function. That's how grantors to artists function too. That's how grantors to nonprofit organizations function as well. They go to the website to see how accomplished the organization is or how accomplished the artist is. So that would be two pieces of advice that I would give to nonprofits and to artists.
Amazing. And I think, we want to put Linda's website, which is scrolling, and as well as her Instagram. And she also has, of course, Facebook and other website information that you can kind of find out not only about her artwork, but her work, her consulting work, which is leading, amazing nonprofits to the next level or artists to the next level or both. And we've seen that, and you've done that for a very long time in terms of sharing. And so I think that's what we love, I think, about one of the many things that we love about you, Maestra Linda Vallejo, is really that you excel and are grounded and really exceed expectations and are really focused and always giving back in each of your circles, whether it's a ceremony or an artist space. Or nonprofit work or grants and etc. You are leading the way and pushing forward, but also remembering those who might need some help and support. And you do that in such a structured and very matter of fact way, in terms of things. This is how it's done, and this is what you need to do. Whether it's a prayer that you're sharing, or an art piece, or a how-to on a brochure, right? So I really appreciate that about you, and I think a lot of the others do too,
I
and that's
wanted
why we consider
I
you a
wanted to
mentor.
encourage our viewers too to look at my grant writing website, which
Yes,
is atozgrantwriting.com. atozgrantwriting.com, A to Z. And you can find me. You'll know it's me because you'll see my picture on the home page. It's pretty easy to find me. But all of the services that I provide to nonprofits and artists are there, and everyone can see what's provided. And there's a lot of hints and tools.
awesome. And yes, various of the Mujeres de Maiz have been through the A to Z grant writing, and so it's important to check out. It's another path. We're talking about, it is May. We're part of this We Rise programming. This is our series of, for those of you who might just be joining us or popped onto the Facebook or YouTube Live. We are with We Rise programming of We Rise Mujeres de Maiz. This is a whole program on well-being for the month of May. These are our online ofrendas through Mujeres de Maiz for We Rise. And this digital experience is really an initiative of the Los Angeles Department of County Department of Mental Health that encourages well-being and healing through art, connection, and community engagement. So what better maestra than Linda Vallejo to share about art, connection, and community engagement, the ways that she has done that with different organizations, spaces, galleries, communities, families, centers, rehabilitation centers, centros, individuals, right, and all these different communities and spaces. So what important work. We've shared some of the websites, both the A to Z grantwriting.com, but also, you can stop, pause it to check it out if you need it, or also Linda's Instagram and also website that focuses a little bit more on her art. This is Maestra Mondays with Linda Vallejo. We do have two more Maestra Mondays that we would like to invite everybody to and to be a part of. And we're really thankful to Rerise for sponsoring this, for honoring, understanding that art and cultura and connection and community are intertwined and they're not kind of separate in these ways, that our community, our peoples, our indigenous ways, and our culture specifically have always seen those together, whether we're dancing for health, we're dancing for prayer or spirituality, or we're painting for that. And so it's a beautiful, beautiful way that you're sharing. Linda, I'd love to hear some information or updates about your upcoming projects or exhibits, and then also maybe some other, art pieces or other ideas. Can you share a little bit more about some of the things that, as part of your well-being as an artist and your well-being as a cultural person and connection of some things that are coming up that some of our audience might want to take a look at or take a visit?
Yes. If you go to my artist website, on the front page, there's a scrolling series of boxes. It'll show you all the shows that I'm up in now. I'm actually working, as I said, on a series of pieces called the Objects of Opulence, and they're about the politics of color, class, and privilege. And interestingly enough, presently, I am up in through the 15th of this month, which I believe is Sunday, at Bermuda's Projects in Cypress Park. And it is the first iteration of Objects of Opulence. If you can imagine all these brown objects behind me in a room that's painted with polka dot brown wallpaper and floor coverings. So I have antique objects of furniture painted brown with a multitude of different types of antique objects that make an interior, in this case, a sitting room with actual antique chairs and data-based objects on the wall and upholstery as well that create this all brown polka dot environment. And if you go to my Facebook page and to my Instagram page and also to LinkedIn, you can see some of these images as well as on my website. I've been working on this particular project for 4 years, and I'm very pleased at this first iteration of it to create this brown, milk chocolate brown environment that begins to create a space, not just an object, but a space that talks about this very complex understanding of what Latinos do in the United States. We are the 7th largest economy in the world, US Latinos, by gross national product. If we were a nation, we would be the 7th largest in the world. We contribute a great deal to the gross national product of the United States. We were here when the railroads were built from Texas to California, in the Santa Fe. We built the backbone, if you will, of American culture, of American economy. And these are many of the topics that are discussed in the data works involved with this. I'm also in a show called LA Memo at La Plaza de Cultura y Artes, and supported with and in collaboration with the Altamed Foundation. And it is a beautiful show of Chicanos from Los Angeles that were producing work in the 70s and the 80s. And I have a rather unusual video that I produced in the mid 1970s called Take a Bite, which is very beautiful and very sexy. But it's rated M. Let's say it's rated M. And a sculpture and also a print is in there, but there's many major works by Chicano artists that are very renowned in Los Angeles. And I'm going on Thursday to the University of British Columbia Museum of Anthropology to be a part of a Chicano show as well. And I'm also they're going to create a polka dot room for me within the museum space. That's going to create another one of these polka dot rooms with a mixture of objects. I'm very, very excited to see it. I'll be going on Thursday and staying through Sunday, being a part of panels and discussions and walkthroughs and all kinds of, yes, just work. And let's see, there was another show that came to me and now it's left my mind. I'm up in 4 shows right now. Oh, yes, I'm in New Mexico, in Albuquerque, at the Mexican American Art Center Museum. And there's a series of pieces there surrounding the brown Oscars, because I also have done brown Oscars where the movie stars all become brown. And all these shows are on my website, and you can see them in a block that kind of runs across. And if you click on the block, you can see all the details, the spaces, and slideshows of the images as well. Presently, I'm working on creating, I've done a sitting room that you can see at Bermuda's Projects, and I sincerely hope, if you're interested, that you'll go take a look. I'm very proud of this work. And I'm working on a very large dining room installation, a complete Victorian dining room with all of the accoutrements, all of the items included on this gigantic table in brown, all milk chocolate with the polka dot walls and flooring. And I'm working with Curator Love to help me find a venue for this location and support for this this very large project. And it's been about 4 years in the making. And I'm very proud of the conversations that come up out of it, the value that it has to discuss, all of the conversation that's really coming to the fore in this particular decade about people of color, their value to culture, their value to the economy, their human value, their dignity, their honor, what they have to offer to the world as a whole. So one of the topics that come to mind, of course, is the idea of the unskilled worker. Well, Latinos are not the unskilled worker. It turns out that we are the skilled workers in this country. According to the Pew Charitable Trust, we will Latinos, U.S. Latinos, it's all the Cubanos, Mexicanos, Puertorriqueños, Sudamericanos, Centroamericanos, all of us, Mexicanos, Chicanos, all of us, are going to constitute 75% of all new jobs in the United States between now and 2034. How is that possible? Well, we're the bricklayers, we're the carpenters, we're the electricians, we're the plumbers, we're the skilled workers. And I think this is a really big shock because we've sort of been invisible for a long time, but the data is actually bringing it forward. And I'm having a lot of fun sharing the good news. Not all of it is good news. Some of our data is not that great. We need to enter into the professions more. We need to graduate from college and get into the professions. We have the workers. Now we need doctors and lawyers and all of the business owners, corporate business owners. We need all of these things. And I'm sure that we will find our way if we can just believe that we have all of the skills and all of the courage and all of the knowledge and ability that we need to be able to become whatever we choose to be for ourselves and our children and future generations.
Beautifully said, the different work coming together. Sorry, I was muted for a second, but the different work coming together, the different ways and paths that you are a part of coming together to share, whether through the art or the gallery space or the center. So I really want to encourage people to take a look at Linda's website, lindavallejo.com, or Instagram, Linda Vallejo Art. Again, she mentioned the LinkedIn as well as the Facebook page, which she keeps updated, and as well said that there's like a clicker just like ours that's moving, or a ticker that's moving across, or that's up there on our website, where if you press, you're able to know about the different 4 current web exhibits that she's in and some of the upcoming work that's there. I wanted to double check and just kind of see, there's some just hellos from people. Lily Flor saying thank you for sharing and inspiring all of us. Goddess Power, so people are just really appreciating some of the information, saying thank you, and just loving kind of the work overall. So thank you overall, Maestra, for that and for sharing your work, your path, your journey, your camino, your road with us, but also your beautiful creations. We've always been very inspired by your work and we really appreciate that, even when we were like a young collective, you were one of the first people that was brought up onto our stage to kind of honor, along with one of our other femtors and veterana maestra, Xochimilco Portillo, and others, I think like 24 years ago at one of our events in East LA. And so we've, the interconnectedness. You've always been open to that. Whether we were still learning or we were, little younger, like not knowing what we were doing, even though sometimes we still think we're not knowing what we're doing, you always are very open to talk to us or to chat or to be a part of our exhibit. And I think we really, really, we honor that, we understand that, we recognize that. So we have our maestra from Lorena. She's a teacher at Venice High, saying gracias, maestra, and always glad to be in your presence, even through virtual reality. Very inspiring. Our Iris, one of our well-being practitioners, Reiki masters, but also a poet, and who'll also be a part of our We Rise Wellbeing programming. So great to see everybody here and kind of chiming in through the different virtual platforms that we're on. Again, for anybody taking a look at today, you can repost it. It will be stored on our both our Facebook page, Mujeres de Maiz, as well as our YouTube page. If you haven't already, subscribe both and follow our Facebook page and subscribe to our YouTube channel, where you'll get notices of other live programming such as this and new videos that will pop up. And there's going to be at least 10 to 12, everything from workshops, presentations, pláticas with other maestras throughout the month of May, culminating in a mural that will be also streaming here and there by Lily Flor Art. So we have everything, nice talk and thank you, happy faces, everything that you can. So there's some little bit of connection out there with our Maestra Monday. I wanted any other things, anything else you'd like to share, or maybe that you realized didn't mention, or shout outs, anything you'd like to do just to close out for today with our Maestra Monday. And of course, yes, questions, if there's any questions. Thank you, Lily. If there's any questions or comments, more comments, go ahead and please feel free to put those in the chat, and we'll do our best to see if it connects with our circle. Linda?
Well, I'd like to say thank you to the Mujeres de Maiz. I'd like to say thank you for all the work that you do in the community and your dedication to the women and to the children. I want to thank you for your dedication to the arts and to the physical, mental, and spiritual, mental health and physical well-being of the comunidad. I want to thank you for the dedication. What is it? Almost 3 decades of dedication that I know haven't always been easy. It's a long road. But it's a commitment, and if there's joy in that, there can be real joy and real accomplishment and a real feeling of accomplishment in that. So I want to thank all the Mujeres de Maiz that have worked with me over the years. I want to thank you for your invitations to be involved in your projects and in your publications and in your exhibitions, and all of the ways that you've continued to include me in the circle and to welcome me to the circle and to honor me when I'm in the circle. It means a great deal to me. It helps me to feel good about myself, good about my life, good about my work. I'm so grateful to be in a circle of women with so much joy, and so much accomplishment. So I do want to thank you, each and every one of you, and thank you, Felicia, for all your good questions tonight. You're an inspiration.
I learned from the best, including you, the maestra. Muchas gracias, Linda Vallejo, artist, grant writer, consultant, mother, grandmother, and an amazing ceremonial leader, and just an overall amazing person. There is one question that actually Lily has that I want to put up and see if you're open to that. And then we'll close out. There was just like Joy, our quest for life. But one of them is that we've all been through a lot recently, right? There was a lot of transition, both within our individual, within our cultural communities, uprisings, people fighting for equality and justice in a righteous way. And we supported a lot of that, but there's a lot of things happening, but also the pandemic and overall. So Lily's asking, also as an artist, I think herself, is how did you manage during quarantine? And now as an artist, grant writer, and Thea and ceremony, and advice for us, words of wisdom. Is,
well, one of the most important things in life is to remain flexible. If you become rigid, you'll get broken. It's very easy to get broken. So to remain flexible is very important in times of stress, of possibility of illness, in great turmoil. To be flexible, to be open, to not make snap judgments, to to settle with things as as you can, and to allow yourself the time that it takes to do that. Many artists during the quarantine began saying things like, "Oh, I needed time off to be in my studio anyway. I'm very happy about it." And 3 months later, people started pulling their hair out because it's a very difficult world to be an artist and to be in your studio all the time producing. It's lonely. Artists are social beings. They not only like being in the studio alone, but they also like being amongst their colleagues and going to openings and museums and joining together in celebration and all kinds of things. And a lot of artists are into theater and music and I mean, they love danza. They love all kinds of art forms. So not being public was very difficult for a lot of people. I decided to take on a study. I took on a series of studies to learn a few things that I was interested in. I began reading, as I've been telling you. I've been reading. I've been doing a pretty serious study where I read the biography of an artist, then I read all the works of the artist, then I read the memoirs of the artist. Then I watch all the movies made from the memoirs and movies of the artist. Or I read all the plays and I watch all the plays on YouTube. I do a full study of the work of an artist to understand their life and how they managed, which was very entertaining and quite wonderful. So study. When you have time unto yourself, it's time for introspection. It's time for intellectual investigation. It's time for reorganization. It's time for, if you have an illness that does not allow you to leave the house, what are you going to do with yourself? You need to occupy yourself with things that are meaningful to your growth, meaningful to the continuation of your work and your dedication. So I began reading. I began painting things brown all over the place. I bought some news about a gun to start spraying things. I began
Yes.
devising the uh, the the new objects of opulence installation, devising it, redevising it, making experimentations, doing experimentations, failing and succeeding. Of course, in terms of the pandemic itself, a lot of artists lost a lot of opportunities. I lost opportunities myself, and you just have to let things go. That's what I mean, be flexible. I just had to let things go, realize that it was nothing that I had any control of at all, to delve myself into my work and into my study and into relationships with people in any way that I could find them, the best way that I could find them. And I developed a new business around Zoom. Zoom came and Zoom was there, and suddenly consultations
Mhm.
became very easy. I saved a lot of money from not having to travel. Traffic in Los Angeles is horrendous. Gas
Right.
prices are going up, and all of a sudden, Zoom was a way that people were willing to meet. So I developed a new business. I spent a great deal of time in the studio. I love to cook. I love the kitchen and I love to cook, so I practiced. It was all this a lot of self development. I had to allow
Mhm.
my children to, because everybody was really afraid for children at the very beginning. They were very afraid for small children, and this is logical. This is quite logical. So I couldn't see some people that I really wanted to see for quite some time, and I had to be flexible about that. I developed a way to communicate with people through writing, actually writing letters, an old
Wow.
art that's just been lost, where you buy cards and you actually write a letter and tell somebody the news, and you put it in an
Mhm.
envelope, and when you put it in the mail, and somebody gets something in the mail, and it's exciting for children, it's exciting for everyone to receive something. So I developed
Yeah.
new ways of communicating, new ways of finding knowledge that I really wanted. And of course, I wore a mask everywhere I went. I got vaccinated as soon as I could. I'm triple vaccinated. I never got COVID. God help me that I never receive it. I'm very careful with my health. Uh, you need to be very careful. I encourage all the women and men watching today to please be careful with yourself. Health is the center of many things, and without good health, you really can be handicapped in terms of making your dreams come true. So flexibility and imagination and inventiveness and curiosity to learn new things really helped me through what is it, almost 3 years of being here. Well,
Right,
now we're going out now, and I'm
right,
careful, but I'm
right,
enjoying
right.
I'm enjoying being with Circle again.
Amazing. I think really key suggestions. That's overall kind of for life in general, aside from aside from the question specifically about around quarantine. You know, you mentioned self-reflection, self-growth, flexibility, reading, learning, and building deep relationships in different ways. Even
Yeah.
way, you know, instead of our social ways or the ways that we've been doing it, even the writing. And so, and through generations and building that. So it's really beautiful to hear that. Lily kind of replies, yes, I studied and read, new business plan recreated. Letters is on our list now, and flexibility. Thank you so much. So a really great interaction. We love this platform where we're able to kind of share with each other, interact. Even, you know, another thing that came out of um, the quarantine for us was this platform that we use to go on YouTube at the same time and live on Facebook, and we're able to interact with people and have that conversation that's a little bit different from Zoom, but also records and connects with that. So Linda, Maestra, we're so thankful for your time. We know you're a busy woman with amazing responsibilities and tasks and families and many things on the to-do list. And so thank you so much for being a part of our We Rise Mujeres de Maiz programming. We Rise is a online ofrenda, a series of events for well-being sponsored by We Rise, and it really is an initiative of the Los Angeles County Department of Mental Health that encourages well-being and healing through art, connection, and community engagement. And who else but our Maestra Linda Vallejo to share some of her insight and information, to connect, to know more about some of our programming or also other programming throughout May. You can go to werise.la or mujeresdemaiz.com to see our full programming of May. You'll see workshops, circles. Tomorrow and Thursday there's talking circles. Um, and Wednesday, a writing or a book presentation and focus by Jessica Calderon. So many programs that you can check out that will also, the talking circles won't be live. Those are closed. But some of our programs are. So if you want to repost this, do use our hashtags, check it out. We love to incorporate and connect with you all. So please do repost, share it with a friend, send it in a group or repost in a group as it is on Facebook. If anybody on YouTube, if anybody is in need of support in any way, there is the LA County Helpline. There is, you know, ways of helping each other through art, through círculos, through spaces. So we're offering those through Mujeres de Maiz, but also we wanted to, of course, share that. And so werise.la, mujeresdemaiz.com, as well as, of course, I wanted to share Linda's information one more time. And thank you all for joining us. Many blessings, Linda, to you and your family, to all of your projects, prayers, thoughts, and art. Muchas
Thank you.
gracias.
It's been wonderful. Thank you so much.
Many blessings. Have a good one. Take care.
You too. Take good care, everyone.